what a beautiful ball. Now it's Cristiano Ronaldo with a chance maybe to seal it, and he has taken it. Lahm in all kinds of space. Lahm, Muller through. Muller could be embarrassing. It's three. Tony Kroos. Olivier Giroud. Barkley's found Klein with a speedy burst, and that's terrific from Vardy. Oh, what a goal by Jamie Vardy.
Hello, welcome to day 4. It is hashtag TFHP Euros back in your ears. I said ears, not rears. Behave yourselves. I am your host, Kris, and I've got 3. Yes, not 1, not 2, but 3 of the regulars with me. So basically, the European crew. That's what I'm going to call them from now on. I've got John back again. I've got Drew back again. And making his first appearance of the summer, it's Tom. Good evening, everybody.
Hello. What's up?
That's okay. I'll just go last again.
Know your place.
I know, it's awful.
Dear. Poor old Drew. Give Drew some lugs. We need to get some kind of hashtag going. Love for Drew or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's all right, Drew. We saved the best to last. That's how it works.
Yeah, true.
Right. Thank you all for tuning in. If you're listening to this, and obviously you have tuned in, so thank you very much. Now, we've got 3 games to cover today, and because we've got an extra bumper crop of people, we're going to kind of focus on one person per team / game. So we're going to see how this works. So we shall start with Spain, because that's why Tom is here. Spain kicked off the day's action, Tom, with a 1-0 victory over the Czech Republic, or Thomas Rosicki's Czech Republic, as I like to call them. What did you make of Spain? 1-0 victory, a very, very late goal, which we'll touch on in a second. But overall, what did you think of the Spanish performance?
Yeah, it went how I expected it to, just without the goals, really. It was a dominating performance. Czech Republic aren't the team they were a few tournaments ago, and Spain were always on the ball. I think they had about 72% possession, so it's clear in the stats to show how dominating they were in the match. The passing was good. It was a bit, I don't know if a lot of Arsenal listeners, but it was a bit Arsenal-esque the way they passed it around the edge of the box before trying to find a little cutting move to incise that Czech Republic defence. So Iniesta played fantastically. He really ran the play similarly to how Kris did in the Germany game yesterday, and I was impressed with how Nolito started. He didn't really get into the game as much as he might have liked to have done, and from following the game on social media, Alvaro Morata got absolutely caned for his performance, when, to be honest, I thought he did okay. He did the job he was in there for, was to just get involved with the play, and then more in the second half when he was there to stay up as more of a target man, and then eventually getting replaced by Aduriz, and Spain looked a bit under the cosh after Aduriz came on, and Czech Republic showed a bit of themselves, had a couple of chances. I think Hubnik had a chance, flicked over the free kick, and De Gea made a good save. But overall, it was a dominating performance, and eventually we got the goal. So, yeah.
Fair enough. And looking at it as a whole, obviously we say with the late goal, a Gerard Piqué header, which I know John's fantasy football team was delighted about.
Thank you very much.
What did you sort of? I mean, it was one of those performances where it was like it seemed to be coming, it seemed inevitable, but from that source, from a sort of a looped-in cross and Piqué on the end of it, is that a worry for Spain that they didn't have that incision?
Well, it's good for John. I had Jordi Alba in my side, and he missed an absolute sitter with a poor touch. I was a bit annoyed about that, but no, it was. I don't know if it's the doing decision. It was just the final thing. As the Jordi Alba chance, where the first touch was fine, then accidentally hit off his knee. Morata had a good chance in the first half. I think they were just unlucky in times with things that happened, and the Piqué goal was typical, where I think whoever's commentating at the time, it might have been Jonathan Pearson, said that there was a point on the camera you could see 10 of the 11 Spanish players in the frame, because even the centre-backs had pushed up far into the Czech Republic half. And Piqué was pretty much saying as a second striker towards the end, and that's how we got the goal. It was a brilliant ball from Iniesta, and I think you'll see against the bigger teams, and I mean, they're in a decent group with Turkey and Croatia, especially Croatia, that they'll probably get a much better chance with the way that Croatia will come onto them more, and they'll be able to play those more incisive passes through the midfield and defence to lay off the likes of Jordi Alba running around the back, as you saw a couple of times, and Morata will probably get a much better chance against teams like that to run onto passes rather than really being like cooped in their box and trying to latch onto little nicks and stuff. But no, it's good to get 3 points. I think it was always going to come eventually, and I think you'll see a much better free-flowing Spain against the other sides.
Fair enough. And obviously, with teams, some start quickly, some take a little bit of time to adjust. So it could be one of those that will take a bit of time. Just briefly, let me go to Drew on this one. Drew, what did you make of Czech Republic? Because they've kind of this group is a real tough one, which we'll come on to the other sides in a minute. But Czech Republic offered some stout resistance, but they had a couple of chances themselves, didn't they? And maybe with a better finishing, with a bit better finishing, I should say, put my teeth in, they could have got something out of this.
Yeah, I think it's we've seen it a couple times now. It's the same blueprint for, whatever team's coming up against, whether if it's a tournament favorite or the heavy favorite to win the group. They want to get their feet into the tournament rather. So I think if the Czech Republic came out and tried to attack Spain, I think they would have gotten drubbed. But I think the fact that, as Tom and I actually spoke on Twitter, you sometimes just question the not validity, but the effectiveness of possession football now, because the gap in quality between the Czech Republic and Spain is quite huge. But yet they were still able to comfortably deal with Spain for a large amount of the match. So honestly, I think that was their game plan. They would have ripped off an arm if they got out with a 0-0, and I think that would have been their goal. I don't think they came to the match trying to get the win. It came, again, much like Ukraine. I think they came to the match trying to limit the damage, because they'll fancy their chances moving forward against the other teams in the group. So I mean, it's a viable tactic that we've seen with different degrees of success in the first match. First round of matches rather. So I don't know, I think they did pretty okay, but you still have to kind of put questions around, do they have enough going forward in the tournament to get themselves out of the group, which I think is the biggest question mark that a lot of people actually raised for them. So
yeah, I think that's a very fair synopsis. And obviously, I suppose we're going to say a lot about the next two teams, but those playing each other might be key rather than the games they play against Spain. That's when we'll get a really good feel for them, moving forward. So okay, let's
just quickly before we move on. I know Morata got a lot of stick, particularly from the Arsenal fans, obviously, because there's been lots of links of him going to the club and the sort of fees that were talked about, 50 million, etc. There was a very good joke by I can't remember, I forget the name of the guy now, but a US commentator saying, wait until Morata plays better opposition, because it's the only time he scores a goal. Which is kind of true, because his goal to game ratio isn't amazing, but he does tend to turn up in the big games. But I do think there was some fair criticism of him today, because I do think he should have taken one of the chances, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Spanish forward line, whether Del Bosque changes it, because I'm not 100% convinced Morata works yet. I get what Tom's saying about against better teams there'll be more space to sort of move about in, but I'm not sure many sides will give Spain that sort of room anyway. I think even a team like Italy or England is going to sit deep against a Spanish team and try and deny them space in behind. So it'll be interesting to see if Morata does keep his spot.
Italy will sit deep against Albania, so
Way to do it.
I think it's going to be, as you say, it's going to be interesting to see how Spain develop, because like you've all said there, I think they're going to come up against sides that are going to quote unquote park the bus, parque le bus, and it's going to be interesting to see how they develop. But we will, of course, keep on top of them.
I think that's why I had Aretha in the squad, though, because you can put the crosses in and he's perfect for that sort of thing. So
yeah, absolutely. No, it'll be interesting to see how they get on against Turkey. I think is their next game, isn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, well, we will keep across them. Let's move on to the next game then. I'm going to sort of do a bit of Swedish talk in a second, because I'm the one that's following them after all. What do you think, John, with regards to Ireland? Because you had a bit of a soft spot for them in this game, didn't you?
Yeah, I was really impressed. I know you're obviously a big Sweden fan, and I don't particularly rate them. They're good, solid defensively. I think they're a decent team. I don't think they're amazing. When I looked at the Ireland squad, I thought, well, they maybe get a point here or there, but I didn't really fancy their chances. But they really impressed me. They pressured well. They used each of the players sort of to the best of their ability. Shane Long is an amazing striker, but what he's got is bundles of pace, and he'll run all day for you and work really hard, and they exploited that brilliantly. Glenn Whelan is the greatest midfielder in the world. But again, he will work really hard in front of the back four and screening them. He did that really well. Brady and I'm going to forget the lad's name now from Derby.
Hendrick.
Hendrick were fantastic. I was really, I mean, particularly with Hendrick. I admit I didn't watch much of the championship last year. He was really impressive. And Brady I'd seen obviously play for Norwich and knew sort of what he can do in his delivery, and they're really impressed. I think they'll come out of the game a little bit disappointed that they didn't get all 3 points. I thought Sweden were better in the second half, but I'm not sure that they necessarily deserve to get a point out of the game. I don't think they really showed enough quality throughout, and they seemed a little bit devoid of ideas. I think the worst thing for them was that Zlatan was pretty quiet throughout the game. Partly down to him, obviously. Part of it was definitely down to him not performing himself, but I think also good tactics from Ireland actually keeping him quiet.
I think you make some very good points there on Ireland. I will counterbalance slightly. I did think, obviously, we should say to our listeners just tuning in, if they haven't seen it, it ended in a 1-1 draw with Ireland taking the lead. Very well worked goal, actually. I have to give credit where credit's due from Wes Houlihan. And
technique on that goal as well, fantastic. Weak foot
with his wrong foot, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, really good finish that was.
Good take, good build up, good finish. But Ireland we're sort of stretching with the likes of Hendrick and Houlihan and Robbie Brady, as good as you say, Shane Long running the channels. But ultimately, they seem to tire. And I thought Sweden were much better second half. And I think the thing is with Sweden is that for those of you that haven't watched them a lot, this is what you get from Sweden. It's not a case of just, well, Zlatan will get us out of jail, but that is definitely the default mechanism when things are not going their way. I thought Marcus Berg was poor up front. He didn't offer a lot of hold-up play, didn't offer a lot of running in behind. I thought Kallström looked sort of quite leggy, didn't have his usual creativity. And I just thought they got better as the second half went on, and particularly through Martin Olsson down that left-hand side.
Yeah, he was very good.
Yeah. Very, very good. And I was impressed with Forsberg again, who it didn't go his way today, but his work rate was definitely key towards getting the equaliser, which was given as an own goal, and rightly so. As much as I love Zlatan, he can't claim that one. It was Aston Villa-esque defending from Kieran Clark, bless him, putting into his own net, and that was the equaliser, and it ended 1-1. Just before we leave this game behind, Tom, I'll ask you on this one. Do you think this is kind of the worst possible result for both these sides? Because surely both would have looked at it and thought, we need to win this.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, obviously Sweden's the most likely they could have got points off in this group. It's going to be tricky to see where the Republic of Ireland are going to get points from. But at the same time, you think it's better than a loss. I know it's a bit like you'd rather win or lose situation, and no one ever thinks of it as, oh, we're going to come out of a draw from this and it'd be okay. But if either team were to come out of a draw, it pretty much writes both of their chances off. So getting a point in there still sort of keeps them in the mix of that group, and it'll be interesting to see how they do against the other teams. But I can't see either of those two going through now.
I hope Sweden can, but let's come on to the final game then. I appreciate we're rushing through, but there's a lot to talk about in this game, because the evening game saw the other two sides in this particularly tricky-looking group, Belgium and Italy. Let's start with the positives, John. Italy. Now, I tipped them for winners of the tournament a long time ago now, a couple of weeks ago, and then I have to hold my hands up. I took back that prediction when they had all these injuries. But would it be fair to say that after a 2-0 victory tonight, which we'll touch on more in a second, they've been easily the most impressive side at this tournament so far?
I don't know that I'd agree they've been the most impressive. I still think Germany just edge it. They were very, very good today. Really, really good. I was impressed with how quickly they pressed, especially at the start of the game. I didn't expect them to press up that high. They were very quick in the transition, and the probably the strangest thing was how much they played out from the back. Normally they are quite pragmatic and they will hit it long. And the fact that Graziano Pella's in the team, they use his ability in the air to hold the ball up, and hitting it long is fine. But they were quite comfortable on the ball. We all know they can pass it around, but it's not something they generally do. So yeah, they were very impressive. I think to be fair, as good as Italy were, Belgium were really poor in the first half. I thought really, really disappointing. They the midfield was non-existent, and the amount of time that Daniele De Rossi and Bonucci were getting on the ball was absolutely ridiculous. And they really exploited that to the best of their abilities, Italy. But what they've got is a group of players who know tactically exactly what their manager wants from them. Whenever he shifts the formation or changes anything, they know they can fit into that immediately. They can make that switch mentally. They don't struggle. There's no, it takes 5-10 minutes until they settle. They do everything perfectly. They do exactly what he says. They'll run every single mile that he wants them to run. They're very much in Conte's image. So, they're not the most talented bunch individually. Obviously they've got very good players at the back in Buffon in goal, but if you look at the midfield and the forward line, it's by no means the most exciting Italian team ever. But they all work so hard for each other that they will get results. I think against a better organised team, they maybe it would be a bit more of an even game. But they looked, for the most part, pretty much in control of it. It was very impressive.
Yeah, they definitely were impressive. I've been keeping tabs through social media, but I've seen the highlights since, and obviously you can't judge a game on highlights. But from what everyone has been saying to me, I thought they were very, very good from what I can gather. And just before I go to Drew, that ball from Bonucci to set up Giaccherini, who I think it's fair to say a lot of people were not convinced by him being in the squad full stop, but it was a fantastic ball and a really tidy finish as well.
Yeah, Bonucci, I think I've said many times before, one of my favourite defenders, if not my favourite defender. Just a wonderful footballer, really, really good ability on the ball. He does that sort of thing for Juventus a lot. Giaccherini, on the other hand, he had a decent season with Bologna. He did okay. I was annoyed that he was in the squad over certain other midfielders that could have gone, Jorginho being one. But Conte kept faith with him, and to be fair, for Italy, he seems to put the performances in, and he did again tonight. He was brilliant, full of energy, up and down, really good control, took it down brilliantly, and very calm finish. And probably should have had a second one as well, a chance he wasted. But Marco Parolo starting in midfield, I thought, there's a little bit of a surprise. Could have had Florenzi or someone a little bit more exciting in terms of forward mobility, but they just got the balance perfectly right. The change of from Darmian, who really is an out-and-out wing-back, and then bringing on De Sciglio, who is a proper full-back and would not be as expansive in going forwards. Bang on a 60-minute mark. Conte basically said he was going to do that, stuck to his word, really helped the team, balanced them out a little bit as they were struggling down that side. Lots of sort of B-list players performing to an A level.
Beautifully put, like that line. So, Drew, on the flip side, Belgium. I'm going to get Tom's view as well in a second, but I'll start with you as a man who's seen quite a lot.
You don't get to ask Tom. No.
Oh no, I'm intrigued because I think Tom can give some insight as far as a team that's quite highly fancied but has not lived up to expectations so far anyway. But what did you think of Belgium as a whole? I mean, I'm going to resist the temptation to mention Lukaku in too much too much terms, but
that was coming. Don't worry, Drew would fluff 3 before he scored 1. Anyway, moving on. So, No, it's fine.
Genuinely, I genuinely, this is not a knock at the kid because people forget he is young, but I genuinely, performances like tonight make me question why people rate him as a £65 million striker. Because for me, it's all right doing it against West Brom, at home. At a Premier League, when you play against proper defenders, and I have to say at this point as well, Eden Hazard once again poor. Marouane Fellaini, I'm not really sure what he's doing in the squad, let alone the team. I thought Dries Mertens was their best player, and he came on as a sub. So, what do you make of them all? And is this just classic Belgium? They come with all this expectation, they're going to fall apart.
Personally, you can't scapegoat Lukaku on this. Honestly, he should have scored his chance. Yes, but no one was stringing up Lewandowski when he was subpar, against Northern Ireland, who are vastly inferior compared to Italy. So I think you can take it with a grain of salt. But moving forward, this is 100%. This falls on Mark Wilmots, 100%. He did not set up his team to win, to really come to the match using their strengths to the best of their ability. So we'll start from the front first. Lukaku was the right call to start a striker. Hazard on the left, perfect call, and then it stops. Marouane Fellaini behind Lukaku is absolutely ridiculous. The whole theory was that he wanted Fellaini to be there to take the long ball, hold up play for the runners around him. But you already have Lukaku there to do that. You already have a big, strong center forward who can win headers and hold the play up. Why do you need then a second person to do that who also lacks the technical ability required to play at the position? He's not creative. He doesn't move well off the ball. He doesn't move well on the ball. So why do you start Fellaini behind the striker? There's that. And then you put Kevin De Bruyne, who, for me, and I know John will probably agree, and maybe Tom to an extent, who is one of the best number 10s in Europe. You then chuck him out on the right, you limit his space off, and then be creative, and then people complain about his performance being subpar, and even Vilmaz criticized him, but what do you expect? So those two things stand out. And then also, moving forward, Laurent Ciman doesn't belong in the starting 11. He was a late replacement. I know Belgium are bereft of traditional left and right backs, so I understand the problem. But surely there's better in the team than Ciman. So what you could have done is you could have put Alderweireld at right back, who has done it before, alongside with Vertonghen, essentially with Vermaelen, and then you could have actually played an actual left back and Jordan Lukaku. He's inexperienced, but we've seen plenty of inexperienced players this tournament already come up and show that they have the ability to perform at that level. Or if you don't want to do that, you can play Vermaelen at left back and play Denayer at center back, who had an excellent season at Galatasaray, who Vilmaz himself talked up pre-tournament, saying that we're going to put some faith in him because of injury, but then he backtracks and doesn't do it. So there's a lot of questions around, and then tactically it was just off. But the players do have to take responsibility as well. The Belgian players showed that they were all about, they wanted to do everything themselves. Multiple times, everybody from Hazard, even to De Bruyne, to Mertens when he came on, they always had their head down, looking to dribble through 3, 4, 5, 6 players, but they weren't looking up and making the smart passes. It's very still not a collective yet. And we spoke already that if Belgium fail this tournament, it's because they're not unified, and it's the same problem we see with the Dutch, which is why the Dutch aren't even in the tournament. So for me, it's troubling. And honestly, give credit to Italy. This is a traditional classic Italy performance. The way they score their goals was sit back, soak up pressure, and then they take their chances when they get them. And no one does it better than them throughout the history of the game. So, Belgium can improve, but Vilmaz has to get it tactically spot on, and the players also have to want to put themselves in a position where they're performing as well. Not just about how I am doing; it's about how the team is doing. If they don't start doing that, then they're not going to go anywhere.
No, it's a bit of an enigma because I say they really did disappoint me. I thought, but Tom, what did you make of the game as a neutral? It was sort of a game that threatened to get better or it's threatened to get maybe better than it was overall. But again, Italy impressive. Buffon, I just have so much respect for the guy. He's just so, the passion that he exerts through that team as a captain is brilliant. And Italy, I think they really impressed even you, didn't they, to be fair? And also touch on Belgium at the same time. What do you think of them?
As a neutral, as a fan of free-flowing attacking football, watching Italy, a neutral, no, I did enjoy it, to be honest. Although I say enjoyed, I was so frustrated by Belgium, like ridiculously with their finishing. Lukaku, we can laugh at, and Origi's chance. The chances that he missed was crazy. The two-headed chances he missed was mad and madly frustrating. And I just appreciated a lot of the leadership on the pitch, especially as you say from Buffon, and the way he just doesn't age ever, doesn't drop in quality. And this guy could go easily into his late 40s. It's ridiculous how consistent the bloke is. And then you got arguably the best back three in the world in Bonucci, Chiellini, and Barzagli, and the leadership they bring. And they're just a team. I think that I was listening to the BBC pundits, and I'm not one for indulging in what pundits say usually, but they are a team, and that's what can take them far in this competition. And we so badly underrated them when we had the preview show, or I did. But no, it's a performance that makes you think they could do something. I was talking to you before, and it's places where people are putting them at 17-1 to win the tournament, and that seems like such long odds when you think about it. So good luck to them. And I will definitely tune in for the next game because I was very impressed with the performance. And John says it's just behind Germany. I personally rated it as the best performance so far in the tournament. Just enjoyed it greatly. So yeah.
Can I come back in real fast? Sorry. Tom actually touched on something that I wanted to, but slipped my mind through my frustration. He brought on Divock Origi, who it's fair to say didn't have the greatest season, right? But those chances you saw Origi have, those two headers, the way he kind of half made runs in the box, half didn't. And Kris, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if that's Michy Batshuayi, surely he gets one of those right. Surely he converts one of those headers, or at least makes smarter, more intelligent runs. Or is more of a hassle for the Italian back three in regards to ability in the air, ability to hold up the ball, ability to actually finish a chance off, the runs he makes. It's another questionable call that Wilmot's made. Origi comes into the tournament not even remotely on the form that Batshuayi had all season and Lukaku had for a large part of the season. So why would he go for Origi over Batshuayi? If you're looking for a goal, you have to bring on your best goal scoring option off the bench, and that's not Origi. So, and then he waits to bring in Yannick Carrasco, who I know Tom can speak more about him than I can because Tom watches it more than I do because I don't really follow La Liga, but he brought him on so late. But you saw what him and Mertens brought off the bench that was so different. It's what Belgium were lacking all match long. So you really have to question his approach. Given
Mertens' run on the left-hand side was brilliant.
It was.
I honestly question. I mean, I look at this Belgian side, and I totally get why you've got to put Kevin De Bruyne in, but I just wonder if Eden Hazard is getting in on reputation alone. And I also question playing Fellaini where he is. If this was my
Fellaini.
Well, yeah, that too. If this was my team, I think you do have to start with Lukaku, but I want to see Ferreira Carrasco on one side, De Bruyne in the middle in the 10 role, and arguably, if Hazard is not performing, Dries Mertens on the other side. And I think if you play the likes of Origi and Carrasco, pace, the Italians are so good at defending, it just doesn't make any sense to not play a pacey option. Lukaku is as good as he can be. I bet Bonucci sat there and thought, I'll have a bit of this tonight. Same with Fellaini.
I think you still have to start Lukaku, but I do agree. I don't think Hazard should get into the team just because of reputation. But I think his play stepped up in the second half where others didn't. So he actually did put in a little bit of a better performance. But I do agree that you have to look at who you're lining up against and mix and match your matchups. And as a coach, Kris, you'll understand that. As me as a coach, I'll also understand that to a certain extent that that Italy are going to sit back and defend. So that slow build up possession is going to play right into their hands, and it's going to give them a chance to counterattack like they did. You're going to need maybe better players that can run at them at pace, which is what you get from Dries Mertens. And when Dries Mertens saw that, that's all he tried to do, and it worked for the majority of the time. Carrasco did the same thing. So it's just decisions that show a bit of tactical naivety from Mark Wilmots, who was a brilliant player, but maybe he's a little bit out of his depth tactically as a coach. You never really know.
Me and John don't understand this because we're not coaches, we're just normal humans.
No, but I was just talking about that in general.
I watch Italian football, I understand all the tactics.
It's really, really interesting, isn't it? It's the debates people have and who would play who and what.
My biggest disappointment from the game actually was Raja Nainggolan.
Yeah.
I was really disappointed with him. I didn't understand why he was being played deeper than Fellaini for a start, but he just didn't get in the game at all. The fullback issue was strange. Why separate Alderweireld and Vertonghen, who'd had such a great season together? Didn't make any sense. I do think it would be difficult regardless of the coach you're coming up against, because Conte and Italy are so flexible in the formations that they can change to, and they can quite comfortably switch to a back four if they want to, switch to a back five, go to 3, change to 5 in the middle, change to 2 in the middle. They can switch it around very comfortably, and within the players even that are on the pitch, they can all do that. So it does make it difficult, but the fact they didn't use any of the width and try and pin back, Candreva, who I know will just run all day anyway, and he's a great player, I really enjoy watching him, but he had so much space down the right hand side, and there was just no one pressuring him back at all, and there was just that out ball was there every single time. Hazard wants to come inside, and I agree with Drew. I did actually think he got much better second half when he had a bit more freedom in the middle, but they just needed to try and stretch Italy and pull Barzagli and Chiellini out wide and leave Bonucci isolated in the middle. because De Rossi isn't as quick as he used to be, and especially when Thiago Motta came on as well, who's certainly got no pace whatsoever. He's not going to be able to drop in and help out in the defence as quickly as De Rossi was. So yeah, just some bad tactical errors, but I just think very good defending from Italy. Belgium had a couple of good chances they didn't take. I think Italy had, Pella should have had 2 goals. Giaccherini should have had 2 as well. They did finish 2-0 in the end. Brilliant goal at the end from Pella, by the way. Really good finish.
That finish. Oh.
Yeah, lovely little dink from Kandrova as well, just to pick him out. I'm sure there were lots of people watching that and thinking, "Oh God, no, he's waited too long. He's wasted this opportunity." But he knew exactly that there was 2 players there. He's just, I'll pick out the one in the most space. So just very, very accomplished. The one thing I will say is, I know Tom didn't disagree with me on whether it was the best performance. I think it was the most comfortable and assured performance by any team so far. And they looked confident in everything they were doing. We've said about a lot of the teams we've seen so far in the tournament, they looked a little bit nervous and a bit edgy, especially in these first games. But Italy just looked, we're all experienced. We've been here before. We've seen it, done it. We're fine with this. And they were exciting to watch, which is particularly un-Italian most of the time, especially when you're considering that Insigne and El Shaarawy and players like that were all on the bench and didn't even get to come on. So.
Yeah, I think it's. I think it'd be interesting to see how they develop, and that. I mean, this game was surely the one between the 2 sides that are fancy winning this group. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. As impressive as Italy were today, they are more than capable of losing. A game to someone else in the group.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting, that group, as I say, because I don't think it's dead and buried yet. But we'll stay across it, and the togetherness of the Italians. I thought that's something that really shone through tonight in the celebrations at the end. And I think to me, only Wales have been closer together as a squad, so that's got to be a good sign. There's almost that. I don't know if you thought the same, John, but that kind of siege mentality. It seemed like they were all together.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's always been a very Italian thing. You look at when they won the World Cup. Obviously, they had the whole scandal back at home in Syria with the match fixing and everything else that was going on. So that really unified them even more. But they've always had that about them. And Conte in particular is just one of those managers. He gets inside your head and gets the whole squad together. Also, fantastic tactical fouls as well. I know some people don't like it, but absolutely brilliant from Chiellini, Bonucci, Eder just before he got sent off. They're definitely going to break like 3-4 on 2 or whatever. Just grab your shirt and pull him on the floor. I'll take the yellow card all day long. There's certainly some teams, other nations that could learn a thing or two from that kind of play. Not looking at you at all, England.
Is Kris there?
Sorry, yes, my apologies. Sorry, I was muted then. My apologies.
You were just listening to me ramble on.
I just got excited. Yeah, I was just talking away to myself, saying it's the dark arts, and sometimes you just got to sit back and go, well, might be a bit dirty, but it gets things done, as they say. So fair play to Italy, and they're off to a flyer. So that's the games for today. Plenty more tomorrow. 2 games tomorrow. So we'll touch on those before we exit the building, as it were. So let's start with Tom, because Austria get us underway. Just the 2 games and the 5 o'clock kickoff UK time against Hungary. What do you make of this game? Is it kind of, obviously it's the first game of the tournament for the Austrians, and you know a bit about them. Do you think it's kind of must win for them, given that Portugal play Iceland later on in the day?
It's the perfect game for them, really. We covered it in the preview show. They've had a bit of an up and down, few friendlies before the tournament, and they're coming up against arguably the worst team in the tournament. So if they can get a win and get the 3 points on the table, then it sets them up well for the next 2 games. I think, and I think a lot of us agreed that Portugal are going to win this group. I think because they've now got a lot more than just Ronaldo, but Austria have got a lot of quality now in the squad. I mean, the last time they're in the competition was when they hosted it in 2008, I believe, and they didn't get past the group stage. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. The likes of Alaba and that are going to be really important. They really need their striker Janko to get them scoring, because he's their main goal threat. Also, big pressures on the likes of Arnautovic and Junuzovic and possibly Harnik if he starts, or not Sabitzer. So they've got goals in different positions. Janko, obviously, I said, is the main threat, and their defence it can be a bit iffy, but obviously when you've got someone like Christian Fuchs coming off the back of a Premier League victory, it sparks great leadership and enthusiasm in the team. So hopefully that can get them through.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the Austrians get off because, as you say, they're almost like Poland. There is talent in that squad from what you can see on the outside. Let's touch on the other teams quickly with you two, then Drew and John. Drew, I'll start with you. Iceland, smallest nation in the competition. Cliche. Are they coming along for the ride, or could you see them upsetting the mighty Portugal tomorrow?
I think their aim is for best names of the tournament. That's their tournament goal. But in regards to their play, I think they can upset them. Like I know there's a bunch of like tactical cliches about they've been playing together for years and they understand each other, but that does come into play just a little bit. But they do have some quality players that people may not know a lot about. You know, they don't really play at all the highest level, but they do have some threats in the team, and I do like their center forwards. I think they can threaten Portugal, and I think the type of team that might get under the skin of the likes of Pepe or Bruno Alves, who were, as you can bet money on them maybe getting a booking or two this tournament, maybe even a red. So I'm not quite sure, and they defend well. So I think if they defend well, I think they might be able to limit the amount of chances, high quality chances that Ronaldo gets. But I wouldn't be surprised if they actually got 3 points. You can't really write anybody off in this tournament. I think we've all learned that by now for sure.
Yeah, I'm completely in agreement with that one on you. And John, finally, Portugal, they're one of those teams, aren't they? We all sit back and go, they should be really good, and they've got Ronaldo, and they've got a very good squad, and yada, yada, yada. And then time after time, they sort of stick the joint out. So would you expect them to go all out to try and get a victory and get the momentum running for this game with Iceland tomorrow?
Yeah, I'd expect them to be well on for the 3 points. Like I said in the preview pod, I don't really know enough about the Iceland team. I haven't seen them enough. I know a few individual players, but I don't know what they perform like. So I'm not sure what Portugal are coming up against. You would expect, just with the sort of, if you're just sort of reading names off paper, that Portugal would have enough to get the 3 points. I'm most excited to see if how much time Renato Sanchez gets. To be honest, just from a sort of selfish point of view, whether he gets on the pitch and gets to show what you can do, because he's a really exciting player. But yeah, they've got good technical players. Portugal, they can pass the ball around. They've got Ronaldo, who's just amazing. His fitness will be one issue, whether he is fully fit, because he certainly wasn't Champions League final. He's had some time now, so hopefully he's at his peak, because whether you like the bloke or not, there's no denying that when he's on form, he's a joy to watch. Nani as well can be a bit hit and miss, but again, he's the sort of player who can do some amazing things. And Eder up front as well. He's sort of the forgotten man. If he plays, he's not bad either. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the game, but I'm not looking forward to. Hopefully, I'm not on tomorrow because I've got no idea how you pronounce half these Iceland players' names.
That's going to be my job, sadly, and whoever has the misfortune of joining me. But yeah,
I've jinxed myself now. I am going to be, aren't I?
Yeah, I shall have to book you now. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Definitely tomorrow. Two very interesting games and four very different sides to what we've seen already, and be interesting to see how Portugal get on, given the talent they have in that squad. But I agree with Renato Sanchez, by the way. Could be good to see him. Right, we will wrap things up pretty much there. Just before we do, I'm going to ask for our hipsters' choices of the day, as we always do. Tom, you're probably new to this, so basically what we're doing is I'm going to ask you for one player that is your hipsters' choice of the day. You all get a vote, and then I will adjudicate as to who I'm going to give the vote to. So, Tom, I'll start with you. Who's your hipsters' choice of the day?
I'm going to go with Hendrick from Republic of Ireland. He really, really impressed me in his game, considering he plays in the Championship and the Premiership, coming up against some decent players for Sweden. So, yeah, very, very impressed by Hendrick.
Yeah, that's a pretty good shout, I have to say. Drew, who have you got for me?
I'm going last again.
How are you? Okay.
It's my right.
Fair enough. Sean, have you got one for us then?
Yeah, I agree with Tom. Hendrick. I was really, really impressed with him. Really impressed.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree. Are you going to make it difficult for me, Drew, or are you going to go with the masses? Okay, go on then.
No, you have to go too, don't you?
No, I'm just merely adjudicating. I'm not having a vote.
Oh, well. All right. Honestly, I kind of think
Wilmots.
No, maybe Bonucci. I thought he was excellent against the Belgians, so I'll say that.
Bonucci, yeah. Okay, well, I will adjudicate. A mention for Andres Iniesta. have to say. Despite Spain not being 100% convincing at all times, he was outstanding, absolutely brilliant. Him and Toni Kroos have been probably the standout individual performances so far. But I am going to give it to Jeff Hendrick. I think that's a very good shout from both of you. And fair play to you there, Drew. Bonucci was superb, but I think Hendrick, for a player that has been playing championship football and stepped in at this level, I thought he didn't look anywhere near out of his depth and really did impress. So there you go. Today's Day 4's Hipster's Choice is Jeff Hendrick of Derby County in Republic of Ireland.
Before we finish, I just want to give a shout out to the Irish fans as well for the best chant of the tournament so far.
Yes,
to the Sweden fans, go back home to your sexy wives.
Yes,
which I thought was absolutely superb.
Very, very good. And to all of you people that are saying sort of Ross out, he assures us his fantasy football team is just warming up. So they will be on the comeback, trust him.
At the World Cup.
Yeah, the World Cup maybe. Right, before we go, John, you've just got a quick message for our listeners who've been asking about some problems we've been having with iTunes.
Yeah, there is an issue at the moment with iTunes. It's not our fault; it is Apple's fault. We're trying to get it sorted. The podcasts are all available on iTunes, so if you go into the store, you can still download them. They just won't automatically go into your feed. We're trying to resolve it as quickly as we can. I understand it's a bit annoying to have to go into the store to go and get them individually, but they will be there. They're taking longer than usual to upload. Again, this is all Apple's end, so we can't do anything about it, sadly, until they fix it. But we're trying to get to the bottom of it as quickly as we can and get it all resolved for you, and hopefully they will be appearing back in your feed as usual. So yeah, if you could just bear with us on that one. Everything else though, Stitcher and YouTube, etc., all uploading fine. So if you use those mediums, it's okay. So it's just iTunes. Sorry, folks.
Yes, indeed. Yes, apologies. Unfortunately, it's beyond our control. I think Football Weekly had the same problem. So, but they have lots of money and we don't. So they seem to have fixed theirs. But hopefully they'll get round to fixing ours. And for those of you that have asked about SoundCloud, by the way, we are hoping to have a SoundCloud channel one day, but unfortunately we're a little bit poor. So we'll have to save our pennies, and maybe in time for the new season we'll have a SoundCloud channel. But until then, YouTube and iTunes Store and Stitcher it is. So yes, there we go. Right, okay, that's it for Day 4 then. Nice and punchy and snappy. We appreciate the listeners. We've had some really, really good figures, actually, from people listening in, especially on our YouTube channel. So thank you ever so much. If you're tuning in for the first time, you're very welcome. And if you've been here since the start, you're equally welcome. We appreciate you all. So that has been Football Hipsters hashtag TFHP Euros, as I should be using the correct term. Keep your pipes smoked and your satchel clean. And we'll speak to you on Day 5, which is tomorrow.
Now it drops for Fabregas, who looks for Iniesta, who's onside! Spain score! Hazard, well, he is a match winner. Is this the moment? It is! Divock Origi! There, and now Pillar, and they now have the breakthrough.
Fail.
It's a great effort! Oh my word, what a goal!